kids in trash cans didn't
You
do
probably
duty.
did.
We actually sold passes for the elevator in our high school, which there was none, but we sold them to the freshmen. Welcome, Woven Ones. This is Generations Woven, where the voices of 3 generations blend into one tapestry of truth, laughter, love, and life. Today, we go back, way back, to the generation that came home from war and built everything that we know, baby boomers, born from 1946 to 1964. High school had drive-ins, sock hops, and not a cell phone in sight. Your first car wasn't just transportation, it was freedom. And music wasn't streamed, it was felt. This isn't nostalgia, it's roots. And I lived every bit of it. Oh,
I,
golly, that just brought me
I
back.
I love the music isn't streamed,
It's
it's
freedom.
felt.
Mm.
Because just like you just got your Bose radio system, and
Yes.
your last night we were over there and she was playing it for my son, and she goes, "Do you feel that music?" So how, like, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah.
you
And,
feel it different.
I come from the era of the Beatles. I remember when
Mm.
Ed Sullivan,
Mm.
they their debut was on Ed Sullivan, and we sat around the TV, the big box TV, and oh my God, that was amazing. And Elvis, oh yes,
Oh, big Elvis fan here
yeah.
too.
So I came from an
Was
era,
was it color TV or black and white?
uh,
Both. We had both. You guys?
well, it was probably color because I was like 12 or
Because you're born
yeah,
in the
we
in
had one of the
50.
first color TVs, and it
Mm.
was ungodly. It was like orange faces and bright blue and bright, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we loved it. Everybody
Mhm.
came over. Our neighbors had to see this colored TV. So, uh, but that, man, when I was reading that, I just brought back memories, and it was a fun time. I remember back in the day, we'd go for drives and all meet at it was called Mr. Quick's in our area, but it was just a hamburger joint, and everybody parked and talked and that kind of thing. And it was community. It was good
Mm.
stuff. What do you remember, like from your moms or back, because they were more in the era where they would remember stuff like this?
I think the music, because I was born in the 60s, and the music is definitely similar. We had more European influence.
Mm-hmm.
Queen, I went to see their show. It was amazing. But there was definitely a different freedom that today we don't have that anymore. But would you say there were any stress? Because I don't think so. What was stress like
Yeah.
in that time? What did it look like for you?
What was what?
Yeah, she
Stress.
doesn't know.
Stress?
They didn't
Yeah,
have
did you have
stress.
stress?
I don't remember it.
Yeah. That's good. That's
I
really
really
good.
don't. I mean, we were having fun.
Oh,
Even as a,
nice.
a little kid, I mean, we played mud pies and
So,
rode our
because
bicycles
you were a
and
teenager in the 60s.
in the 60s. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the 60s.
Mm.
Well, yeah,
What was going on in the 60s?
Ooh, a lot of
well, I
stuff.
got my first car,
Mm.
and that was freedom. The first day I had it, I ran into a parked car, but
What car did you have?
it was a 63 Chevy.
Oh yeah.
And back then, the hot cars were the 57 Chevys. I don't know if you remember, but those are collector
Mm.
items now.
What color?
Mine was blue. It
Mm.
was a
That
blue
powder
car,
blue?
powder blue.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, sort of a.
Do you remember, taking you a few years back, being a teenager and your grandparents being disappointed in your generation? Like, did they ever say, "You kids don't understand blah blah blah"? Like, and all you do is watch TV. Like, did they say anything like that?
My grandmother would continue to say, "Oh, oh, forevermore. Oh,
Forevermore
forevermore. What
Regarding what?
is what is
Any
this? What is this generation coming
coming
to?"
to.
You know, we were listening to the Beatles, and and it was like, oh, it was just strange.
Yeah.
But now as a boomer, I'm looking at what kids are doing. They're on their phones, sitting 6 feet from each other, talking, texting
So even
each
though
other.
it's
It's like,
Yeah.
it's different, but it's similar,
but it's
right?
similar, yeah.
There's the even the generational
The irritation
differences.
with the generations.
It's kind of like a rite of passage
Mhm.
almost for an older generation to not like something a younger generation is doing, maybe because like your grandparents said things. So we almost, do you think it's because like we feel like that's like a normal thing to complain about other generations?
Oh, I was talking to my daughter the other day and I said, "Do you remember when you went to high school and you were like a sophomore? You had such an attitude about the new incomers." And I
Oh,
don't know why is it that we should help them. We should carry them. But I don't think that that's
that's
what people
not the mindset,
do.
I don't think.
Which mindset?
That to help. It's more
No.
like I'm like a senior. I'm the
Yes.
big kid on
You need
campus
to
and you're like a
learn.
freshman and that
Yes.
whole like stereotype of like putting the freshmen in lockers or putting them in garbage cans. Like why not like take them under your wing and help them? Like
Yes.
why do we always go towards like the negative in things?
Did you guys do that?
Oh no.
You put kids in trash cans, didn't
You
you,
probably
Judy?
We
did.
actually sold passes for the elevator in our high school, which there was none, but we sold them to the freshmen.
See? That's where we get it from. It's
Yeah.
their fault.
It passed it all down. Like they
Crazy.
just keep passing those things down to
Oh
generation for
my gosh.
generation
Yeah.
of teasing or rites of passage, things like that.
God,
What was your favorite song?
well, Judy in disguise.
Oh
And with
my
diamonds?
gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I know that song.
Yes. Like I want to sing it in my head right now, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
Judy,
let's hear
sing it
it.
for me.
No, I can't. I forget.
Judy in the sky. No.
With diamonds.
Judy in disguise. Can we ask you a small favor? Every month, more than 7,000 people spend time with us here on Generations Woven, yet only a small number are subscribed to the channel. Subscribing is completely free, and it truly helps us continue bringing meaningful conversations and special guests to this community. Most importantly, it helps more women find connection, encouragement, and support. So thank you so much.
Speaking of diamonds, and I know this is like a different generational thing, but uh like today in my generation, they're kind of against diamonds because of the whole like blood diamond thing.
It's been gone for years.
Yes, but your generation seems to be like, I don't know, I feel like they're more the diamond generation where they look at diamonds in a different
They
way
are.
and they don't look at it as we're looking at it now in my generation.
And I don't think we were so much into the how big the diamond was as
Mm.
how real it was, the quality of it.
Versus now maybe it's more
Yeah,
size. Like a little bit of a perspective
yeah,
change
yeah.
amongst them.
It's a status thing, I think, with
Mm.
younger people. The
It
bigger
is.
the diamond, the richer the relationship.
Mhm.
That. Which, if you boil it
Okay.
down, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, I know marriages that got one marriage that got married with a cigar wrapper because they didn't have any money for rings,
I
and
love that.
we're married 60 years. They're gone now, but
Oh,
I like that.
yeah.
it's what's
That's more
real and
rare now.
authentic.
Mhm.
That's when I was in high school. I don't know if any of you girls will remember, but do you remember the kilt skirts? And then you
Like
had
the pleated ones?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
and
the
they were a little
Scottish.
short, and you wore the knee socks to
Yeah.
match, and then the sweater. I remember wearing that, and I thought, man, I looked really good. And one of the teachers made me get on my knees, and he measured. It couldn't be
Oh yeah.
over an inch above your knee, and
Yep.
if it was, I got sent home.
Yeah. We did that with our uniforms. They
I mean,
measured.
yeah, I mean that's similar. Like when I was in high school, it was spaghetti straps. We couldn't have like the really thin
Mm.
spaghetti strap shirts. Or there was even some like there was no like midriff. Like now the kids go to school wearing nothing.
No, that's
Like
true.
when I see them walking, when I
They're
picked up
yep.
my son, I mean, when I picked him up from high school, right? Like they're coming out wearing a
Nothing.
lot less than I think we were ever allowed to. So it's clearly loosened up as the years have
You think?
gone.
The other thing is tattoos. I mean, when I was young, the only one you saw with tattoos was maybe the guys coming home from war
Oh,
that,
Oh, interesting.
they went out with their buddies and had something to bring home, you know what I mean? A
yeah.
tattoo that, like an anchor or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And now
everyone.
It's
everyone
okay.
has
Well, not
tattoos,
everyone.
but you know what I mean? It's very
You don't have any,
acceptable.
right?
Well, I'm not telling you. No, I don't have any.
Judy. But what about hair? I mean, they were so strict when I went to school. Now, granted, I was in a public school, and but we wore uniforms, and I think in a way it's really good because you don't have all this. I
Yes.
compare to this one, and this one doesn't have a lot of money. So look at they don't have any of that. And they did measure our dresses; it had to be a certain size. Our hair had to be tied. The boys, their hair had to be
And a belt.
short and a belt.
And a belt.
Did any of your generation go to school in pajamas?
No, see, no. That's more
I mean,
a
that's
me
more
thing.
Walmart kind
I
of
think
thing.
it was more of a millennial.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm astounded sometimes. I go out to Walmart or one of the
Hmm.
shopping places, and there will be people in there with pajamas on or those fuzzy slippers, and I'm going, really?
Yeah.
But
But
and
not
they
at
think
Target. Target, you got to wear your
Target, it's a
clothes.
little up, yeah,
Yeah,
upscale.
you can wear pajamas at Walmart, but not Target. I actually don't know if I don't think I ever wore pajamas to school unless it was pajama day. But I know once we got to college, it was
Mhm.
almost the thing. Like you showed up in your hoodie and your sweatpants. It was, and I think it's funny how it's almost like a stereotypical thing, right? And
Mhm.
same thing with like different generations and what we pass down to
Mhm.
generations is that um that kind of belief of, oh well, when you're in college you just roll out of bed and go, so you almost like,
Literally.
but you almost put that mindset in that, oh well, I'm in college, I roll out of bed and I just go.
Judy, so I have a question for you. Of the baby boomers. So you raised Gen Xers. What would you say, looking at us, is the best thing that we learned from you?
work ethics.
That is very true. That is very true.
You know, for my generation, we were taught from an early age we had chores.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
my parents had allowance. I mean, if I made my bed, if I picked up my room, or you know what I mean, if I gathered up the garbage or whatever, I got so much. So when my kids were growing up, I don't know how much allowance they got because I didn't have a lot of money raising the 5 children, but there was bonuses, you know what I mean? If they did,
That's
I
cute.
remember one time I took a chart and had gold stars, you know.
The big white
Yeah,
chart.
yeah.
Oh, I love
And
that.
and it's like it wasn't money, but it was,
Yeah.
I got 5 gold stars this
That
week,
means something.
Hmm.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
need a
Means
confirmation that
something to
you're
Yeah,
them.
worthy.
I agree with the work ethic. I mean, even to millennials, like my parents are boomers,
Mm.
and that's the one thing that I for sure got from my dad is that
Mhm.
work
Mm.
ethic.
Mm.
If you want something, you work for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's not just
that was the way.
I
But
I deserve it.
what do you think about the conversation that happens when boomers tell the younger generations just to work harder to get what they want, considering the economy and everything?
Well, I think it's a different world.
And I question. I know people say work harder, but I think what they're really saying is stay committed.
Oh, I like that.
Because sometimes it's not how hard you work, it's how wise you work.
Right.
But it's sticking with something and seeing it
Yeah.
through. Because I remember
Ooh.
if I started something,
Mm.
I had to finish it. And boy, that changed, with like I wanted to do this or I want to do that. Well, you can do it, but you have to finish it. Ooh, that put another spin on it
That is
because
very
Mhm.
true because I think parents sometimes today they give their kids an out too quickly.
yeah.
There is a little bit of suffering needed in life to become the person you're supposed to be. So if you make a decision like you want to go and take ballet and then 5 weeks into it it's hard work, it's not as much fun.
Hmm.
Whatever the commitment was, a good parent would say to them, you're going to stick this out because you said this. That's integrity. And our lives are so different now. I think we make it so okay. It's like, oh no, that didn't work. So we're going to do
Try
something
this,
else.
try this, try this. Yeah.
And the thing is, you take that into other parts of your life, your work,
Your relationships,
relationships, and everything almost becomes
disposable almost.
like we're very consumable, disposable people right now.
Mhm.
And that's definitely a good thing that you passed on to the next generation and the next generation.
Mhm.
What would you say is something that was not so good that you passed on to us, that we passed on to them?
Ooh, this is just being gut honest, okay?
Yes, please do.
I think the thing I
Or that
passed
you
on
regret. Yeah.
that I regret is I seem to be too judgmental
Really?
when they didn't follow through
Okay.
instead of being more understanding and having a dialogue and talking about why.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does. I'm surprised though.
You know, and I'm just being gut honest because probably 10 years ago I would not have admitted that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm going, what are you doing? You know, being
Well, you
judgmental.
the quick
Mm.
reactions too, which I think is also just part of being a parent when you're in that raising children phase of that those
Yeah.
quick responses, right? Because you're busy, you've got a lot going on. You've got a job, you've got multiple kids or in all these different
Mhm.
things and you're just quick to kind of like blame them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
So,
let me ask this question for all of us. Is the problem, and I'm kind of now thinking maybe that is the problem, do we look at the lens of our own generation, at especially younger and older people, and think, why are you not doing it like my generation? Or are we willing to say, oh my goodness, that generation's really good at that. Look at what they're doing. And then maybe take from that and then we try harder.
I think one common frailty we have is we don't value as much as we should what each generation brings
Yeah.
to the plate. And, you know, just having this podcast, I
Yeah.
have come to a whole new realization of what goes
Mm,
on behind the scenes. It's like,
mhm.
oh my God, I'm so lost in this technical world. And yet you guys make it look like I'm right in there helping you do everything.
But you do, but just from a different perspective or a different way. And I think definitely what I'm valuing more is the fact that there's such wisdom that I don't have yet, or I don't see it from that perspective. And being a little bit more graceful to say that we are not all just the last 10 years. We are, we're all, my mom and dad are 90. So we have some of the silent generation. We have some of the baby boomers and the Gen X's and the millennials. We have all of that. And we get to choose the best of each generation and incorporate that in our day to day. And we can raise our kids like that so that they
Mhm.
have the best.
Hmm.
Well, and I think that's where it doesn't matter what age you are, right?
Mm.
Recently, one of our posts, Judy said something and people were all in an uproar about it, but it doesn't matter the age, right? Like we can still learn. Like I don't care if you're 60, I don't care if you're 70, like you can learn from anybody else
True.
regardless of what age they are.
Yes.
Because there are things that we all learn at different phases.
Correct.
And the point about like no one's behind. You're not behind. But you could realize something at 20 that you are so no, like this is my belief.
Mm-hmm.
You get to 30 and you're like, I can't believe I thought like that. You get to 40 and you don't even remember thinking like that, right? And you keep growing and changing. And something that I may strongly feel today that I could say on a podcast right now, I could watch this in 3 years and be like, I thought that. You know what I,
Mm.
and we continue
Yeah.
to grow and change our perspectives, but
True.
it's the ones that are so, well, this is the way it was, this is what happened to me, and this is the truth. It's like,
And if you don't believe like I believe,
yes.
You're
we've got a
wrong.
problem.
Yes.
And
You're
You're
wrong.
wrong.
and that's where we can learn from each other,
Mm.
regardless of the generation, because we all have different experiences.
Mhm.
That's true.
And that's where, like, you have learned from different experiences throughout this. I've
Mhm.
learned through this. Like, we've all seen something from a different perspective. And while I may not agree with you in the moment, I look back and I'm like, oh, I see it now.
Mm.
You know, that I
Mm.
think that's what's the cool thing about being around people of different generations
That's
more
true.
frequently
Yeah.
is learning these different things because when you're with the people
Mhm.
that are the same as you, right?
Mhm.
Maybe same generation, same experiences. It's a little bit of
Tunnel vision.
a tunnel vision. You're not giving yourself those varieties to grow from and to
Mhm.
learn
Right.
from because when we just stay with what we've always known, what we've always done and we accept all of that, we're not seeing perspectives
That's
differently.
true. It's true.
True. Yeah.
But there's also a language difference in the wording. My mom had recently, I'd asked her about something and she said, and I know that that was a generational thing for the silent generation. And I know to some extent for your generation too, on the baby boomers, children are meant to be seen and not heard.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
yes, I do.
And I know
Mm.
that my grandparents said that to my parents. And I know my parents said that to me. And I wanted to say to them, excuse me, I wasn't made for that. That would have never worked for me. That's not how I am. And I struggle with
Really?
that. It's really none of us are like that. But I remember that my dad had mentioned that a few times, that he said he grew up with that and he made the decision that his children will have a chance to have a voice.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that I think I needed in my generation. We have an opinion and we have a voice. And today, I think if you talk to Generation Alpha, and they're going to have an opinion.
Oh boy.
So to tell them, you're supposed to be seen and not heard, that is devastating to
Yeah,
them.
but I agree.
Yeah,
Like, you still respect them, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily always have something to learn from them.
correct.
It could be the other way around.
Yes. But I think respect is hugely and was hugely important to your generation, definitely the generation before you, and to some extent mine.
Back when I was a kid, if you were close friends with someone, it was Uncle
Yeah.
Bob, or
Yes.
Mm.
or if it was
Auntie this.
older person, it was Grandma Rachel, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean. That was a sign of respect, of honor.
Yes.
So when they were close to the family, they may not have been blood relation, but you honored them with
Yeah, I've heard people say that. They're like, he wasn't my real uncle, but that's what we called him.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
in learning about people's families and past. Like, oh, that was my uncle so and so, but not really my uncle.
yeah. Well, this generation built the foundation, and even if we've since remodeled it, what you call old school was just the first school. This week, I want you to ask the oldest person you love to tell you a story you've never heard. This story is your story, even if it doesn't look like it yet. So until next time, God bless.
As we're concluding the episode today honoring the baby boomer generation, we want to also acknowledge the generation that came before them. Ina, Sella, and Tracy are representing just some of the women whose love became the shoulders on which generations now stand.
There's an invisible thread that ties us all.